Can the interpreter read the oath, please? And then, Mr. Abdi, if you repeat it after the interpreter. Yes, can the interpreter read the oath, please?
I solemnly declare that I will speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much. Would you like to take a seat?
Witness, your name is Bilal Avdiu.
Oh.
Yes?
When were you born?
In 1947.
And were you born in Ratchak?
Ratchak.
In Ratchak.
Do you live in Ratchak?
Oh.
Yes.
Mr. Avdiu, you gave a statement to the Office of the Prosecutor on the 30th of November in 1999. Do you remember?
Oh.
Yes.
And on the 28th of May 2002, you attend a meeting with a presiding office of this tribunal, and a copy of your statement in the Albanian language was read out to you. Do you remember that?
Oh.
Yes.
At that time, you had an opportunity to review, and do you agree with the content of your testimony?
Oh.
Yes.
Prosecution submits the statement and the attachments into evidence.
Yes, exhibit number.
Prosecution Exhibit 187 for the unredacted and 187A for the redacted version.
As a clarification to the court, his statement has two attachments. Sorry. His statement has two attachments. Attachment A, there are photographs that the witness provided, and where he shows his house and several places in Ratchak. And these photos are the same photos that are contained in the Ratchak binder tab 8. And the attachment B is photos of vehicles that were identified by the witness. The summary of the witness testimony is the following. He is a Kosovar Albanian who is a survivor of the incident in the ravine in Ratchak in the municipality of Stimuli on 15 January 1999. He states that towards the end of 1998, there were two attacks on Ratchak by Serbian police who were positioned on the hills surrounding the village. There was no KLA presence at the village at that time. No one was killed during these offensives, but 2 civilians were injured and several houses were destroyed or damaged. The witness states that the police wore blue camouflage and plain blue uniforms, and the VJ soldiers wore green uniforms with camouflage. The police and military vehicles, APCs and Pragas, that the witness observed at the Chesta Hill prior to and on the 15th January 1999 are identified on the attachment B of his statement. On 15 January 1999, at 7 in the morning, the witness woke to the sound of gunfire and explosions in the village. He realized that the village was being attacked and took shelter with his son in Faik Limani's barn. His son was shot in the left leg as he was entering the barn. There were 5 men there from the village, all of whom were unarmed and in civilian clothing. They all left the barn and went to Sadiq Osmani's house, where they joined other men from the village. About 25 police arrived, took all the men out of the barn and searched them. Their ID cards were taken, and the police commenced beating them with sticks and other instruments. They were cursed and threatened that they would be killed. VJ soldiers were also present. The men were all ordered to climb the hill to the ravine. When they got there, to the ravine, the witness saw uniformed Serb police who shouted and cursed at them. The Serb police then opened fire on the men and killed them. The witness feigned death for about 5 hours in order to stay alive. He names the victims and survivors and checked some of the victims for signs of life. He spent the night in the forest with other survivors. The witness states that all the men in the ravine were civilians and were not wearing anything that could be mistaken for a uniform. Most were either young or elderly. No further questions.
Yes, Mr. Milosevic.
In your statement, you said that 2 offensives were carried out against Račak from the end of 98 until the 15th of January of 99. Can you tell me when did these offensives take place?
At the end of the year 1998, this happened. The Serbian forces and the Serbian army, with the army, tried to enter the village. But there were no KLA soldiers. And they didn't.
And was there an attack on the village before the end of 98?
They came in and burnt the houses, about 65 houses. And there was no KLA, but they burnt the houses. This is what Serbian forces and the police did.
I'm asking you, please pay attention to what I'm asking you and reply only to that. Was there an attack on Račak before the end of 98? Was there one, for example, in the summer of 98?
There was an attack, but I'm not sure of the date.
Well, was there an attack in the summertime of 98?
Yes.
Does that mean that that was the third attack? You said that there were 2 from the end of 98 until the 15th of January. So this other third attack took place before these other 2.
The witness may well be confused by that. Mr. Avdiu, just tell us, if you would, how many attacks in all there were by the Serbs in 1998 and 1999?
Twice in 1998, they attacked. And on the 15th of January, they entered the village and surrounded the village at night. And on the morning of the 15th at 7 o'clock, on both sides of the village, in the mosque neighborhood.
All right, well, I didn't ask you anything about that. So there were 2 attacks in 98, is that right?
That's what he said.
Yeah.
When was the first attack in 98?
I don't know exactly. I don't know what date.
Was it spring, summer, fall, or winter?
It was in the second part of the summer.
And what happened during that first attack, about which you say that it was in the second part of the summer?
Serbian forces attacked the village, the police, but they didn't enter the village. The second time, they did enter the village from both sides, and they burnt the houses.
All right, well, I'm asking you about the first attack, the one that took place in the summer. So they didn't enter the village then, did they?
Yeah.
No, they didn't.
Was somebody hurt in the village at that time? Was something destroyed or set on fire in the village on that occasion?
Yes, there were fires in the village, but nobody was killed or wounded.
So how come there were fires if they didn't enter the village?
I don't know the date, but on the first time, and then the second time they entered and they burned. They also, first time and the second time, they did attack and they shelled from a distance, and then they entered, and then they burned, and then they woke us from sleep.
You said that during, as you call them, offensives, there were no members of the KLA in the village. There were only civilians there. Is that true?
There were only civilians.
So how come they didn't manage to enter Serb forces into the village? You said that these offensives were unsuccessful. Who organized resistance from the village, resistance to the police and the army?
They provoked us. The Serbian police.
Does that mean that they did not want to enter the village?
They provoked us.
Nakan provokun.
They provoked us.
Nakan jun, na provšat,
They
nakan provokun.
fired at us in the village.
Pucali iz daljine, znači, ali nisu ulazili u selo.
They fired from the distance but did not enter the village. Is that what you're saying?
Oh,
Yes.
Da li je bilo žrtava
Were there any
nekih
victims
tada? Da li vam je
Jo.
poznato?
on that occasion? Do you know of that?
No.
jo.
U selu nije bilo.
No.
A da li vam je poznato
There were
da li
none
je
in the
bilo
village.
žrtava
And do you
na
know
strani
whether
vojske i policije?
there were victims on the side of the army and the
Da li je
police?
poginuo neki vojnik ili policajac?
Were any soldiers or policemen killed?
No.
Ja.
A da li su stanovnici vašeg sela, znači
Did
vi
the residents of
stanovnici,
your village
da li ste imali neki unapred pripremljen plan za slučaj
have
napada?
some kind of a
na selo?
plan prepared in advance in case there should be an attack on the village?
Dokedi.
I don't know.
Kao postplan.
There was no plan.
A da li možete da objasnite kako je moguće
Can you explain how
da
is it
prilikom
possible
tih napada
that during
i kažete granatiranja
those
sela
attacks and
od
shellings,
strane
as you
vojske i
say,
policije,
by the army and the
da nije
police,
bilo nikakvih žrtava?
there were no victims, none at all?
Pos.
I don't know.
A dobro, da li
All
imate
right.
neku, kako bih rekao, saznanje ili
Do you
zamisao
have
o tome
any information
zašto
or
je
any
vojska
idea
želela da uđe i
about why did the
osvoji to
army
vaše
want to
nebranjeno
enter
selo u kome
and
nije
take
bilo
this undefended village of
nikakvog
yours
prisustva UČK?
in which there was no presence of the KLA whatsoever?
That is not for the witness to answer. You can't say why the army did something.
Dobro.
Very well.
A znate li gde se nalazi mesto Rance?
Do you know where the place called Rance is located?
Oh,
Yes.
A koliko je ono udaljeno od Račka?
How far is it from Račak?
6 kilometra.
5 kilometers.
Da li ste bili tamo u toku
Were you
kraja
there
98. 99. godine?
at the end of 98, 99?
No kom chan nalaz.
I wasn't in Rantha.
A da li ste znali u Račku da se tamo
Do you
nalazi
know
štab
in
OVK?
Račak that the KLA headquarters was located there?
Okej, dit just toest dit stab.
I don't know of a headquarters being there.
Stab. Se piko kon
There was a
sa
headquarters
očekuje, to kan vržgu teren.
with KLA people. They were looking at the terrain.
A krajem 98. godine
And at the end of 98,
koliko je članova OVK bilo u samom
how
Račku?
many members of the KLA were present in Račak itself?
Noke kom nije ona,
I didn't
kon
hear.
nije sme menja ona stab, mi nije.
It wasn't
Pa dok je vozila
allowed
kon.
to go to the headquarters. I went.
Da li znate kako se zvao komandant
Do you
OVK
know
u Račku?
what was the name of the KLA commander in Račak?
Noke di.
I don't know.
A da li su oni bili sve vreme u selu ili su se
Were they
vratili
present in the
išli
village the
sa
entire
drugim
time,
pripadnicima OVK
or they
u
went
Rance
back
i u druga mesta?
with other members of the KLA and went to Rance or other places?
Tackar nej till ni kort.
They stayed for a short time,
Staben kan plats någonstans.
and they had their headquarters in Rance.
Za vreme boravka u Račku, bez
And
obzira
during
koje
their
vreme su
stay
bili,
in
da li
Račak,
su
regardless of the
pripadnici
time
OVK imali
period,
svoje
did the members
prostorije
of the
u kojima su se
KLA have
hranili,
their own
spavali,
premises in which they
lečili i tako dalje?
ate, slept, had medical treatment, and so on?
Nu kom kärnstaben.
I wasn't at the headquarters.
A jeste bili u bolnici?
Were you in the hospital?
Ja,
No,
jo. Nu kom konstspital att gå.
I wasn't in the hospital.
Jel to znači da ste se sa
Does this mean
pripadnicima OVK mogli sresti samo
that
na ulici?
you could meet members of the KLA only in the streets?
Drog kom på.
I didn't see them. They watched the terrain, and I don't know who they were. I don't know their names. It wasn't done to ask.
Dobro, ali
People
vi
who
ste
they were.
naveli da su... Dobro,
Yes,
dobro, ali vi ste
very well,
naveli
but you
da
stated
su od te 30-torice pripadnika
that
OVK
out of those
10-torica bili vaše
30-something members of the
komšije.
KLA, 10
ili
were your
rođaci.
members or relatives.
Vi znate bar imena tih vaših
You
komšija
should
ili
know
rođaka.
at least names of your relatives and neighbors.
Nu kapasen.
There was-
Tam uçuyor.
There were no members of my family in the KLA.
Partieten nuk e dijen.
And about other
Shocking.
people, I don't know who was in it.
Dobro, ali ovi ljudi koje pominjete
All
kao
right, but
vaše
these
komšije
people
i
that you
rođaci, da
mention
li su vam
as
oni
being your
poznati?
neighbors or relatives, you do know them, don't you?
Ja, hon nej men
I know them.
ska en civil hon är ja.
They were civilians.
Da li su stanovnici Račka pomagali ovim
Did the
pripadnicima
residents of
UČK,
Račak
od kojih
assist
su
the members of the KLA,
ta 10-torica koje ste naveli komšije
out
i
of
rođaci,
which these
prilikom ovih njihovih
10 that you mentioned
napada na
were your
policiju,
relatives
vojsku
and
i
neighbors?
tako
Did they assist them when they attacked on the army and the police?
Jo, nu kan Salmo.
No,
Asni här.
they didn't attack ever.
A da li je neko od stanovnika sela imao oružje osim
Did
pripadnika
any
UČK?
resident of the village have weapons except for the members of the KLA?
Nu kapas.
They didn't.
Niko u selu nije imao oružje osim pripadnika
So
UČK.
nobody in the village had weapons except for the members of the KLA.
Oh.
That's right.
U izjavi ste naveli da je kuća
In your
Fajka
statement,
Limanija
you said that the
odmah do
house of
vaše.
Faik Limani was right next to yours.
Pa onda kažete da je
And
to
then you
negde
go on to say
50 metara.
that is some 50 meters away.
Kuća? Je li to prva kuća do
So
vaše?
is
Koliko je
that the
stvarno
first
udaljena od
house right next to yours? And how far
Ja,
away
to
from
se-
yours is it exactly?
The next door house
Rätt metra.
Is
Spistam,
about-
spistam men här.
10 meters behind my house.
a ne 50, je li tako?
So it's not 50, is it?
Ja.
No.
Ja.
A je li ova kuća Fajka Limanija 50 metara?
And is the house
od
of
vaše
Faik
kuće,
Limani 50
ili je to
meters
kuća koja
from
je sa 10
yours,
metara od
or
vaše kuće?
is it the house that you say is 10 meters away from yours?
Već ni garve kim në mjet.
We have only a path in between.
As 10 metra nuk e kam shtëpinë.
And then the next house is not 10 meters away.
Pa je li to ta kuća Fajka
Well,
Limanija?
is it the house of Faik Limani?
Yes.
Po.
Dobro.
All right.
Kada je počeo napad na Račak,
When the attack on Račak
vi i
started,
vaš sin ste
you
se
and your
uputili
son
ka toj kući.
started towards that house.
Zašto ste se uputili ka toj kući?
Why did you do that?
Po.
Yes, that's right.
Për mes natës se kanë rrethekuar fshatin policia dhe ushtria serbe.
Police and the Serbian army surrounded the village in the night, and in the morning there was firing from all sides with Pragas and tanks and armored vehicles, and they woke us up, and I went out into the yard, and the shooting was going on.
Yes, I understand what you are saying. But my question is, why did you go to Faik Limani's house? You said it was only 10 meters away from yours. So what was there in the house of Faik Limani?
There were 4 brothers and a sister in the house, and I got them up and woke them up and took them there. I went to wake them up.
It's now 1:45 and it's time to adjourn. Mr. Avdiu, could you be back tomorrow morning to continue your evidence at 9 o'clock? Could you remember not to speak to anybody about it until it's over, and that does include the members of the prosecution team. So could you be back, please, at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning? We'll adjourn until then.